always thought I had the perfect life. From the outside, my family was the definition of flawless. My parents, Adrian and Sophie, had been married for over 25 years, and their love was something people envied. They had this rare kind of chemistry, the kind that made me believe in true love, that soulmate kind of connection everyone talked about. We were the family others looked at with envy, the ones who smiled just a little too perfectly for photos, whose laughter seemed to echo through every room. My father, tall and well-built, with a face full of wisdom and care, was a rock. My mother, graceful and beautiful, had this effortless charm that made everyone feel at ease. But that was before the night my whole world shattered. It wasn't like any big revelation that would come with a bang, no affair exposing email or phone call. It was an accident, a small one, a mistake that had no right leading to such devastation. My father was cleaning the attic. He was always the one who took care of the practical things and found a small box hidden under some old holiday decorations. It wasn't anything special at first glance, just a simple wooden box that seemed out of place. He opened it, and inside was a collection of photos, love letters, and some other things I couldn't make out from the stairs. At first, I didn't think much of it. But when I saw my dad's face, when I saw the way his eyes darkened, how his mouth twitched as if struggling to breathe, I knew something was wrong. That was the moment I learned that my mother, the woman I had always seen as an angel, had a secret, a deep, dark secret. An affair that had been going on for years. I never expected it would be her. My mother. The woman who'd always been my safe place. How could she betray my father? How could she do this to all of us? But the shock didn't stop there. No, it only deepened. As I watched my father, stunned, staring at the evidence in his hands, I realized that what he was seeing, it wasn't a mistake. My mother wasn't the victim in this situation. She had been keeping this affair secret for years. The man, someone I didn't know, had been a constant in her life in ways that felt like a slap in the face. The affair was far from a fling. It was an entire world my mother had been hiding from us all. I couldn't stop thinking about it. My mind raced, every little detail about my parents' relationship now tainted by the betrayal. I couldn't even look at my mother the same way. The image of her, the woman who'd always been a pillar of virtue in my eyes, was shattered. But what hit hardest was the silence. The moment my father found the box, he didn't confront her. He didn't shout or throw accusations, he was quiet, too quiet. I had never seen my dad this way. He wasn't angry, he was defeated, and I knew then that he would never confront her. Not directly, not like that. I tried talking to my mother, but she was too calm. It was as if she had been expecting this moment, the reveal of her secret life. I asked her about the affair, about the man, about everything. And she simply looked at me with that same practiced smile. It felt wrong. Like she had lived with this weight for years, and now that it was out, she was numb. She wasn't sad. She wasn't even regretful. "You've always been the one who needed to protect your father," she said, her voice soft but cold. "It's time for you to realize we all make choices. And I've made mine." Her words hit me harder than anything I'd ever imagined. I wasn't supposed to be the one trying to fix this, wasn't supposed to be stuck between two people I loved, trying to figure out which side of this mess I stood on. I never thought I'd be the one torn between loyalty to a mother who had betrayed her vows and love for a father who couldn't see past the devastation. But there was more, much more that I didn't know. And every time I felt like I was starting to understand the layers, another one peeled back, revealing something darker. The man. The one my mother had been seeing for years. I needed to know him. I had to. What kind of man was he? How could he seduce my mother? What made him so irresistible that she would risk everything she had with my father? I found his name, Ethan Blackwell, and immediately searched for him online. The first thing I found was his picture, a man in his late 30s, dark-haired with sharp features that screamed sophistication. He looked like a man who had everything: money, charm, status. But the thing that caught my attention wasn't his looks, it was the gleam in his eyes. There was something unsettling about it, something too calculated, too smooth. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. The more I dug into his background, the more I realized how deep my mother's affair wasn't just a random fling or a momentary escape. No, Ethan had been a constant in her life. He was someone who held a powerful sway over her, someone who could get her to do things that made my stomach turn. I found an old post on a social media account, an event he attended with my mother. They were standing side by side, their arms brushing in an intimate way. My mother, so poised, smiling without a care in the world. And my father, oblivious, completely and utterly unaware. I felt like I was sinking deeper into a pit. What was I supposed to do with this knowledge? Was I supposed to tell my dad? Or was this something I was meant to carry, like a dirty little secret I wasn't strong enough to expose? The tension at home grew unbearable. My father withdrew, becoming a ghost in his own house, while my mother continued her distant, almost detached demeanor. It was as if nothing had changed for her. She still cooked dinner, still smiled at me when I walked through the door, but everything felt off. I couldn't take it anymore. One night, as I sat in the kitchen, watching my mother prepare dinner with her usual grace, I lost my nerve. "I know about him," I blurted out. "I know about Ethan." Her hands froze midair, a knife hovering over a tomato. I saw a flicker of something in her eyes, surprise, maybe even fear, but it was gone as quickly as it came. "It was inevitable, wasn't it?" she replied, setting the knife down calmly. "I can't keep running from the truth forever. He's a part of my life, Grace. He always has been." I stared at her, at the woman who had raised me. I never imagined I'd be looking at her like this, like a stranger, with so much anger and betrayal coiling in my chest. "You've hurt him, Mom. You've hurt Dad in a way I can't even begin to understand." She met my gaze, and for the first time in a long while, I saw something real in her eyes: vulnerability. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," she said softly. "But I couldn't stop. I couldn't leave him, Grace. I couldn't leave either of them. And that's the mess I'm in now." The conversation didn't end there. But after that night, things changed. The facade of normalcy I had always relied on was gone. I began to notice things I never had before. Small things: my father's tired eyes, the way he avoided certain rooms in the house, the subtle signs that he knew, but didn't want to face the truth. He wasn't just sad. He was heartbroken. One morning, my father was gone. No note, no explanation, just his car in the driveway, the house empty. Panic set in, and I searched for him everywhere. I finally found him at a nearby park, sitting on a bench, staring out at the water. His face was pale, and his eyes were red from lack of sleep. "I know, Grace," he said quietly, when I sat next to him. "I know everything. But I can't make her leave. I can't force her to choose me." The sadness in his voice was more crushing than anything I had expected. "You deserve better," I whispered, unsure whether I was comforting him or myself. But what could I do? What could I say? My parents' marriage had become a house of cards, each piece of truth threatening to topple everything I'd ever known. Days turned into weeks, and the house felt emptier, even when we were all still physically there. The silence was unbearable. My father began to spiral. He wasn't just emotionally distant anymore, he was physically absent. At first, he'd stay out late, blaming work, then he'd come home late, barely speaking. He'd drink more. I'd catch him staring at nothing in particular. It was like he was vanishing, and I was helpless to stop it. I couldn't confront my mother, not yet. What could I say? Could I blame her? She had her reasons she had buried deep inside, reasons she wasn't willing to share. Every time I tried to ask her more about Ethan, she gave me the same cold smile, her eyes looking beyond me, as if I were just a passing distraction. But I knew, somehow, I had to talk to him. Ethan. The man who had stolen my mother from my father. The man who had ruined everything. It was reckless. I knew it was reckless. But I needed answers. More than anything, I needed closure for myself. I didn't know what was worse, the secret of my mother's affair, or the fact that I had never been given a choice in the matter. So one afternoon, I went to his office. The building was sleek, polished, the kind of place where everything smelled of success, of power. Ethan Blackwell was standing behind a large glass desk when I walked in, and for a brief moment, I felt like I was the one intruding. His smile didn't falter when he saw me, but it was the kind of smile that made my skin crawl. He was calm, collected, too collected for my liking. "Grace," he said smoothly, offering his hand. "What can I do for you?" I refused his handshake. I wasn't here to be polite. Why my mom? I asked, my voice trembling with anger. Why did you do this to my family? He raised an eyebrow, amused by my directness. It's not as simple as you think, Grace. Your mother wasn't the victim here. She made her choice, and frankly, she always knew what she was doing. But I understand why you're upset. Family is a tricky thing, especially when the truth gets in the way. He was toying with me. I could see it in his eyes. I want you to leave, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I want you to leave her alone. Whatever it is you have with her, I want it to stop. Ethan leaned back in his chair, staring at me with a look of complete indifference. I think you'll find that my presence in her life is a bit more permanent than you realize, Grace. That's when I realized something. This wasn't just about love for him. It was power. Ethan wasn't in it for the passion. He was in it to control her, to control all of us. I had been a pawn in his game, without even realizing it. And as I stood there in his office, I felt my stomach twist with disgust. The man wasn't just an affair. He was a cancer slowly eating away at my family, at the very foundation of everything I thought I knew. I left that office, but not before Ethan had made one final statement. A threat, or perhaps a warning. You think you can put an end to this? He laughed softly. You think you can stop what's already been set in motion? I didn't respond. I just walked out. But inside, a fire had been ignited. I was done with being the helpless bystander. Whatever it took, I was going to end this. I returned home, feeling sick.